Subscribe to Storylab. Now, let's begin this one. The smell of motor oil and coffee had become Gabriel Price's morning ritual. 25 years of Delta Force operations, 18 countries, more classified missions than he could count, and now he rebuilt vintage motorcycles in a converted warehouse in southeastern Portland. The transition hadn't been easy. Nothing ever was when you traded a rifle for a wrench, combat zones for carpool duty. "Dad, you're going to be late again." His oldest son, 10-year-old Matthew, stood in the doorway of the workshop, backpack already strapped on. Dark hair still wet from the shower. The kid had his mother's eyes sharp, observant, missing nothing. Gabriel glanced at the clock mounted above his workbench. 7:43 a.m. School started at 8:15. "Your brother ready?" "He's been ready for 20 minutes. He's practicing his presentation." 8-year-old Lucas had inherited Gabriel's intensity, but channeled it differently. Where Gabriel had learned to move through shadows and eliminate targets, Lucas memorized facts about the solar system and built elaborate Lego cities. Different wars, different battlefields. Gabriel wiped his hands on a rag, the scar tissue on his knuckles catching the fluorescent light. Some wounds never fully faded. "Let's move." The drive to Riverside Elementary took 12 minutes through morning traffic. Gabriel had timed it 47 different ways, knew every alternate route, every potential choke point. Old habits died hard, even when the mission was just dropping kids at school. Matthew and Lucas argued about which superhero would win in a fight, Thor or Iron Man, while Gabriel navigated the streets, his eyes constantly scanning intersections, parked cars, pedestrians. The training never left you. Neither did the awareness that the world held dangers most people couldn't imagine. "Love you guys," Gabriel said as they climbed out of his '09 Ford pickup. "Love you too, Dad," they called back, already running toward the entrance where their friends gathered. Gabriel watched until they disappeared inside. Every time, he watched until he couldn't see them anymore. The motorcycle shop Price Customs had been operational for 2 years. His business partner, Brett Gifford, former Marine Recon, handled most of the customer interactions while Gabriel focused on the technical work. They'd served together in Afghanistan, bled together in Syria, and now they built beautiful machines that went fast and looked dangerous without actually hurting anyone. "Morning, sunshine," Brett said, already 3 coffees deep, working on a carburetor from a 1972 Triumph Bonneville. "That lawyer called again. Wants his bike done by Friday for some charity event. Tell him Saturday." "I did." He offered an extra $500. Gabriel considered. $500 meant new cleats for Matthew's soccer season and the advanced science kit Lucas had been eyeing. Friday it is. The morning dissolved into work precision tools, chrome parts, the meditation of mechanical perfection. Gabriel had learned in the service that chaos could be controlled, that violence could be directed, that everything had a pattern if you looked hard enough. Motorcycles operated on the same principle. Understand the system, maintain the components, respect the power. His phone rang at 11:37 a.m. Unknown number. "Price. Mr. Price? This is Detective Nelson Sears with Portland PD. I need you to come to Sacred Heart Hospital immediately. There's been an incident involving your sons." The workshop tilted. Gabriel's hand tightened on the phone, his voice steady despite the ice flooding his veins. "What kind of incident?" "Sir, I'd rather explain in person. How soon can you?" "What happened?" Detective Sears exhaled slowly. "Your sons were attacked near the school around 10:30 a.m. They're in critical condition. I'm at the hospital now. How long will it take you to get here?" Gabriel didn't remember the drive. One moment he was standing in his workshop, the next he was pushing through the emergency room doors. Brett half a step behind him. The fluorescent lights felt too bright. Everything moved too fast and too slow simultaneously. Detective Sears stood near the nurse's station, 50-something, gray suit, the kind of worn expression that came from seeing too much of humanity's worst moments. "Mr. Price? Where are they?" "4th floor. ICU. Before we go up, I need to prepare you. I've seen worse." Gabriel's voice came out flat, controlled. It was the voice he'd used when calling in airstrikes, when making life or death decisions in split seconds. "Not like this, you haven't. Not your own kids." The elevator ride took forever. Sears filled in the details. Matthew and Lucas had left school during morning recess. Apparently, Lucas had forgotten his science project at home. They'd walked the 4 blocks back, a route they'd taken dozens of times. Somewhere between the school and their house, they'd encountered members of a local street gang, the Norte Kings. 30 members strong, operating out of the industrial district near Gabriel's workshop. "We don't know why they targeted your boys," Sears said as the elevator doors opened. The Norte Kings usually stick to drug territory disputes, protection rackets. This doesn't fit their pattern. 2 kids, middle of the morning, residential neighborhood. They walked down a hallway that smelled like antiseptic and fear. Through a window, Gabriel saw his ex-wife Shannon Fisher sitting in a waiting area, her sister Ramona crossed beside her. Shannon looked up as Gabriel approached, her face streaked with tears, her expression dissolving from grief into rage. "Where were you?" She stood, her voice cracking. "You're supposed to protect them. That's what you do, right? You're the big Delta Force hero. Where were you when they needed you?" Gabriel absorbed the words like bullets. Each one hit, but he didn't let them penetrate. "Let me see my sons." A doctor emerged from one of the rooms, Dr. Alice Lake according to her badge. Mid-40s, exhausted eyes, blood on her scrubs that she probably didn't even notice anymore. "Mr. Price? I'm the trauma surgeon. Your son sustained severe injuries. Multiple skull fractures, internal bleeding, broken bones. We've done everything we can, but the next 48 hours are critical. They're both in medically induced comas to reduce brain swelling. Can I see them?" Dr. Lake nodded and led him to the first room. Matthew lay in the bed, his head wrapped in bandages, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped and hummed. His face was swollen, bruised purple and black. His left arm was in a cast. A ventilator breathed for him. The second room held Lucas. Same bandages, same machines, same artificial breathing. Smaller, younger, even more fragile looking. Gabriel stood between the 2 rooms, looking through the windows at his sons. His hands didn't shake. His breathing remained steady. But something inside him, something he'd kept carefully controlled for 2 years, unlocked and expanded. The gang members used metal pipes, Detective Sears said quietly, standing beside him. "We found 3 of them discarded 2 blocks away. They wanted your boys to suffer, Mr. Price. This was deliberate, methodical. This was a message." "What message?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out. You have any enemies? Anyone from your military days who might come after you through your family?" Gabriel slowly shook his head. His Delta Force service had been compartmentalized, classified, his real name never used in operational contexts. "No. Any recent disputes? Business problems? Road rage incidents? Anything that might have put you on someone's radar?" "No." But Gabriel was already thinking, already analyzing. The Norte Kings operated in his neighborhood. His shop was in their territory. He'd seen them around young men in red and black. Territorial markers spray-painted on walls. The careful dance of street power. He'd ignored them because they'd ignored him. Mutual, professional disinterest. That had apparently changed. Shannon appeared beside him, looking through the window at Matthew. They said they might not wake up. Even if they do, there might be brain damage. "Our babies, Gabriel. Our babies." She leaned against him, and Gabriel put his arm around her. They divorced 3 years ago, incompatible lives, different visions of the future, the usual dissolution. But in this moment, they were united in the only way that mattered. "I'll fix this," Gabriel said softly. Shannon pulled back, searching his face. "What does that mean?" "It means I'll fix this." Detective Sears's phone rang. He stepped away, spoke quietly, then returned with an expression that mixed concern and curiosity. "We just got a call. Someone saw the attack, took video from their apartment window. They're sending it over now." They moved to a conference room. Sears pulled up his laptop, opened the video file. The footage was shaky, shot from 3 stories up, but clear enough. Matthew and Lucas walking down the sidewalk. Lucas carrying his science project, a model of the Mars rover. A car pulling up beside them. Matte black sedan with tinted windows. 6 men getting out, wearing red and black. The boys stopping, confused. One of the men saying something. Matthew stepping in front of his younger brother. Then the pipes came out. Gabriel watched as they beat his sons. Matthew tried to fight back, tried to protect Lucas. Lucas screamed for help. The men were laughing. You could see it in their body language. This was entertainment for them. When Matthew and Lucas were both on the ground, no longer moving, the men kicked them a few more times, got back in the car, and drove away. The entire attack lasted 93 seconds. We've got partial plates, Sears said. We'll track the vehicle. We'll find these guys, Mr. Price. I promise you that. Gabriel said nothing. He was memorizing faces, cataloging details. The leader was easy to identify, the one who'd spoken to Matthew first, who'd laughed the loudest, who'd delivered the final kick to Lucas's ribs. Hispanic, early 20s, teardrop tattoo under his left eye. Norte King's colors prominent. We'll need you to stay available for questioning, Sears continued. And I want to assign protection detail to your house. Just in case. No, Mr. Price. If this gang targeted your children, they might. No police at my house. Gabriel stood, his movements controlled, economical. Thank you for the information, Detective. If you need me, call. He walked out of the hospital, Brett following. They didn't speak until they reached the parking lot. You're going after them, Brett said. Not a question. Yes. The whole gang? All 30 members. That's what I figured. Brett unlocked his truck. I'll start making calls. You're going to need equipment. And probably someone watching your six. I work alone on this. Brett shook his head. Brother, I've followed you into worse. This time won't be any different. Besides, you'll need intel. I still have contacts with local PD who owe me favors. Let me do what I do best. Gabriel looked at his friend, his brother, in all the ways that mattered. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We haven't even started. The next 6 hours were preparation. Gabriel went home, down to the basement that Shannon didn't know existed beneath the newer basement. The one he'd built himself. Reinforced concrete and steel, accessible only through a hidden door behind the water heater. Inside were the tools of his previous life. Weapons he'd legally acquired and some he legally couldn't discuss. Communication equipment, body armor, night vision, surveillance gear, medical supplies. Everything organized, maintained, ready for deployment because Gabriel had learned early in his career that preparation separated the living from the dead. He laid out the equipment methodically. Sig Sauer P226 with suppressor, K-bar knife, flex cuffs, trauma kit, cell phone jammer, lock-picking set, glass cutter, climbing rope. The familiar weight of the gear centered him, focused him. This was the language he spoke most fluently. The language of controlled violence, strategic elimination, surgical removal of threats. His phone buzzed. Brett had sent 3 text messages, each containing information about Norte King's members, their known addresses, their associates, their routines. Good intelligence, solid reconnaissance. The foundation of any successful operation. Gabriel studied the information, building a mental map. 30 gang members. Most lived in a 3-block radius in the industrial district. They operated out of an abandoned textile factory, their headquarters, their meeting place, their territory marker. The leader's name was Ricardo Maldonado, 23 years old, multiple priors: assault, drug possession, weapons charges. Never convicted of anything serious because witnesses had a tendency to recant or disappear. That was going to change. At 9:47 p.m., Gabriel left his house through the back door. He'd changed clothes, dark tactical pants, black long-sleeve shirt, boots that made no sound. He drove a different vehicle, a 2003 Honda Civic he kept in a storage unit for exactly this kind of need. Anonymous, unremarkable, forgettable. The industrial district was quiet after dark. Warehouses and factories, most abandoned or operating on skeleton crews. Perfect territory for a gang, plenty of space, few witnesses, police response times measured in minutes instead of seconds. Gabriel parked 6 blocks away, approached on foot. He moved through shadows like he'd done in Fallujah, Mosul, Kandahar. Different environment. Same principles. Observe without being observed. Understand the pattern. Identify the weakness. The textile factory sat at the end of a dead-end street. 3 stories of crumbling brick and broken windows. Lights on the ground floor. Music playing, bass heavy. Voices carrying in the night air. Gabriel counted 12 vehicles in the surrounding lot, ranging from beat-up sedans to expensive SUVs, probably bought with drug money. He circled the building, noting entrances, exits, security measures. There weren't many. The Norte Kings were arrogant, confident in their territory, convinced of their invincibility. They'd beaten 2 children nearly to death in broad daylight. They thought they were untouchable. Gabriel moved closer, using abandoned cars for cover. Through a ground floor window, he could see gang members inside drinking, smoking, celebrating. One of them had his feet up on a table, recounting a story that made the others laugh. Gabriel recognized him from the video, one of the pipe wielders. He raised his phone, took pictures, documented faces, positions, weapons visible, intelligence gathering, understanding the battlefield. Then he saw Ricardo Maldonado, the leader, sitting in what looked like a throne made from pallets and covered in red fabric. Younger than Gabriel had expected, but carrying himself with the swagger of someone who'd never faced real consequences. He was talking to 2 other gang members, gesturing animatedly, laughing. Gabriel took more pictures. Then he retreated, moving back through the shadows to his car. This was reconnaissance only. The actual operation would begin tomorrow. At 2:14 a.m., Gabriel returned home. He uploaded the photos to his laptop, cross-referenced them with the information Brett had provided, built detailed profiles of each target. By 4:30 a.m., he had a complete operational plan. He slept for 90 minutes, enough to maintain cognitive function, not enough to waste time. At 6 a.m., he called the hospital. Matthew and Lucas were stable but unchanged, still in comas, still fighting for their lives while machines breathed for them. Gabriel showered, dressed in civilian clothes, and went to the coffee shop 3 blocks from the textile factory. He sat by the window with a newspaper and a cup of black coffee, watching the street. At 7:23 a.m., the first Norte Kings members emerged from the factory, 4 of them, climbing into a black Escalade. Gabriel photographed them discreetly, then followed at a distance when they pulled out. They drove to a residential neighborhood, parked outside a small house where they knocked on the door. An older Hispanic man answered, his expression shifting from confusion to fear when he saw who his visitors were. Money changed hands, a protection payment, Gabriel realized. The gang was collecting their weekly tribute. Gabriel followed them to 3 more locations. Same pattern at each: intimidation, collection, departure. By noon, he documented their entire morning route, identified their collection schedule, understood their operational rhythm. That's when he made his first move. The Norte Kings split up after their collections. 2 members went to a fast food restaurant. The other 2 drove to a strip mall. Gabriel followed the strip mall pair, easier to isolate, fewer witnesses. They parked behind the mall, near the loading docks. One of them lit a cigarette, leaning against the Escalade. The other went inside, probably to use the bathroom or make a drug deal. Gabriel approached from behind, silent, invisible. His hand clamped over the first gang member's mouth before he could react. The man struggled, tried to shout, but Gabriel's forearm was across his throat, cutting off air and sound. 30 seconds later, the man went limp, unconscious. Not dead. Not yet. Gabriel flex-cuffed him, gagged him, dragged him into the back of the Civic's trunk. Then he waited. The second gang member emerged from the mall 5 minutes later, looking at his phone, texting. He never saw Gabriel until it was too late. Same technique, same result. Both men secured in the trunk. Gabriel drove to an abandoned warehouse he'd scouted earlier 3 miles away, completely isolated. He'd already prepared the space. Chains bolted to support columns, plastic sheeting on the floor, tools laid out with surgical precision. The Norte Kings members woke to a nightmare. Gabriel didn't speak to them, didn't explain. He'd removed his mask, wanted them to see his face, to know who was doing this. He showed them pictures of Matthew and Lucas in their hospital beds. Let them understand the connection. Then he asked simple questions. Where does Ricardo Maldonado live? Where does the gang keep their weapons? Who else was involved in the attack on my sons? The first man tried to act tough, spat at Gabriel, called him every name in the book. Gabriel broke 2 of his fingers with surgical precision, enough pain to override the bravado, not enough to prevent him from answering questions. The second man was smarter. He talked immediately, gave up addresses, phone numbers, schedules, everything Gabriel needed to know about the Norte Kings operation. When Gabriel had extracted every useful piece of information, he made his decision. These were the men who'd beaten his sons. He'd seen them in the video, laughing while children bled. He showed them no mercy. By 10 p.m. that night, Detective Sears received an anonymous call about a fire at an abandoned warehouse. When firefighters extinguished the blaze, they found 2 bodies inside, burned beyond recognition. The only identifying marks were Norte King's tattoos visible on their charred skin. Gabriel was already moving on to targets 3 and 4. The next 48 hours became a systematic elimination. Gabriel operated with the precision he'd learned in Delta Force Plan. Execute, extract, repeat. He identified Norte King's members, isolated them, extracted information, and removed them from the equation. Some he took in pairs, others alone. He varied his methods, making each disappearance look different, each death ambiguous enough that police couldn't immediately connect them. A car accident here, a drug overdose there. One gang member simply vanished, his body later discovered in an industrial dumpster with evidence of torture that made seasoned detectives uncomfortable. Gabriel worked through his targets with methodical efficiency. He'd mapped out each gang member's routine, knew their habits, understood their weaknesses. The Norte Kings had operated with impunity for so long that they'd become predictable, lazy. They never saw him coming. On the second night, he hit 3 more. One was leaving his girlfriend's apartment. Gabriel took him in the stairwell, made it look like a robbery gone wrong. Another was dealing drugs in a park. Gabriel used a suppressed weapon from 150 yards, then disappeared before anyone realized what had happened. The third tried to run when he spotted Gabriel approaching. But you don't outrun someone who spent 25 years learning how to hunt human targets. By the third day, the Norte Kings were starting to panic. 8 of their members had died or disappeared in 72 hours. The remaining gang members were scared, suspicious, looking over their shoulders. Detective Sears called Gabriel. "Mr. Price, I need to ask you some questions. Several members of the gang that attacked your sons have turned up dead in the last few days. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" "No idea." "Detective, I've been at the hospital with my sons. Have you?" "Because the hospital staff says you've only been there twice since the initial visit." "I've been working. Someone needs to pay the medical bills." "Right, working. At your motorcycle shop." "That's correct." Sears was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Price, I understand what you're feeling. But if you're involved in what's happening to these gang members, you need to stop. Let the justice system handle this." "The justice system didn't protect my sons, detective." "Maybe not. But vigilante justice isn't the answer. It makes you just as bad as them." Gabriel hung up. He wasn't interested in moral equivalency. His sons were in comas because 30 gang members had decided to beat them with pipes for reasons Gabriel still didn't fully understand. Every Norte Kings member he eliminated was one less threat in the world. One less person who could hurt someone else's children. The count reached 15 by the end of day 3. Halfway done. That night, Gabriel visited his sons at the hospital. They looked the same, swollen, bandaged, unconscious. The machines still breathed for them. Shannon was there, asleep in a chair between their rooms. She woke when Gabriel entered. "Any change?" he asked. She shook her head, wiping her eyes. "The doctors say it's too early to know. They might wake up, they might not. And if they do wake up..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Gabriel sat beside her. For a long moment, they just existed together in the silence of the ICU. "Something's happening," Shannon said eventually. "That gang, the one that hurt our boys. They're dying. The news is covering it. Police are calling it a gang war, but..." She looked at Gabriel. "It's you, isn't it?" He didn't answer. "Gabriel, I'm not asking you to stop. I'm telling you to be careful. Our sons need their father. They need you to be here when they wake up." "I will be. Promise me." "I promise." He left the hospital at 2 a.m., drove back to his house, descended into his hidden basement. The list was shrinking. 15 down, 15 to go. But the remaining members were getting harder to isolate. They were grouping together now, moving in packs, armed and paranoid. Time to change tactics. Gabriel called Brett. "I need you to make some noise. Spread a rumor that the East Side Boys are making a move on Norte King's territory. Make it credible. That's going to start a war. That's the point. Chaos creates opportunity." 24 hours later, the rumor had spread through the criminal underground. The Norte Kings believed a rival gang was eliminating their members, seizing their territory. They mobilized for retaliation. Gabriel watched from a rooftop as 12 Norte Kings members loaded into 4 vehicles, armed with automatic weapons, heading to East Side Boys territory. He'd already called in an anonymous tip to the police about an imminent gang shooting. Patrol cars intercepted the convoy 3 blocks from their destination. Shootout. 2 Norte Kings members killed by police. 4 arrested, facing multiple felonies. 6 fled the scene. Gabriel tracked the 6 who ran, picked them off one by one over the next 12 hours. A sniper shot here, a knife in the dark there. One died in what looked like a meth lab explosion. Gabriel had rigged the gas line in the abandoned house where the gang cooked their product. 22 down, 8 to go. And still Ricardo Maldonado remained untouched, protected by his remaining lieutenants, hiding in the textile factory that had become their fortress. Gabriel decided it was time for a direct approach. On day 4, at 11 p.m., he drove to the factory, parked his car 2 blocks away, loaded his weapons, checked his gear, and moved through the darkness toward his final targets. The factory was guarded, now scared, desperate men with automatic weapons. They'd finally realized they were being hunted. But desperation made people sloppy, and fear made them predictable. Gabriel took out the first guard with a suppressed headshot from 40 yards. The man dropped without sound. The second guard was texting, not paying attention. Gabriel's knife entered his throat before he could even look up. Inside the factory, Gabriel moved through shadows. He'd memorized the layout from his earlier reconnaissance, knew where they'd be, how they'd position themselves. He found 3 gang members on the 2nd floor, guarding the stairwell to the 3rd level where Maldonado was hiding. Gabriel used a flashbang grenade disorient, then execute. 3 shots, 3 bodies. 2 more guards at Maldonado's door. Gabriel came from behind, silent as death. His knife work was efficient, practiced, perfect. Then he kicked open the door to Ricardo Maldonado's makeshift throne room. The gang leader was there, with his final 2 lieutenants, both armed. They reached for their weapons. Gabriel shot them before they cleared leather. 1 bullet each, center mass. They dropped. Ricardo Maldonado raised his hands, eyes wide with terror. Wait, wait, wait. We can talk about this. Gabriel closed the door behind him, locked it, walked slowly toward the gang leader, who'd ordered the attack on his sons. You hurt my children, Gabriel said quietly. It was a mistake, man. We thought they were someone else's kids. This dealer who owes us money, his kids go to that school, we thought. You hurt my children. I'll make it right. Whatever you want. Money? Drugs? I'll leave town. I'll disappear. Just don't. Gabriel grabbed Maldonado by the throat, lifted him off his feet, and slammed him against the wall. The gang leader struggled, gasped, clawed at Gabriel's hand. What are you gonna do, soldier boy? Gabriel asked, echoing the words from his confrontation with Maldonado days earlier, when he'd first tracked down the gang and revealed himself. Maldonado's eyes went wide with recognition and terror. Gabriel smiled. Then, he showed Ricardo Maldonado exactly what a Delta Force operator does when someone hurts his family. When Gabriel left the factory at 2:37 a.m., all 8 remaining Norte Kings members were dead. He'd arranged their bodies in the main room, a message for whoever found them. Ricardo Maldonado sat on his throne, eyes open but not seeing, surrounded by his fallen empire. The count was complete. 30 gang members. 96 hours. Gabriel burned his tactical clothes, cleaned his weapons, returned everything to his hidden basement. By dawn, he was back at the hospital, sitting between his sons' rooms, waiting for them to wake up. Detective Sears arrived at 8 a.m. Mr. Price, I need you to come down to the station. Am I under arrest? Not yet, but I have questions. 30 gang members are dead. Every single one involved in attacking your sons. That's not a coincidence. Sounds like someone cleaned up your streets for you. Detective, that's not how justice works. Then maybe justice doesn't work. Sears studied him. You know what I think? I think you did this. I think you went through that gang like they were nothing. And I think you did it so efficiently, so cleanly, that I'm never going to be able to prove it. So I'll tell you what I told my captain. Far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. 30 gangbangers killed each other in a turf war. The city's safer for it. He started to leave, then turned back. But if you ever do anything like this again, Mr. Price, I will find a way to put you in prison. Are we clear? Crystal clear, detective. Sears left. Gabriel returned to his vigil. That's when his world shifted again. At 3:47 p.m., Dr. Lake entered the waiting room, her expression unreadable. Mr. Price. Mrs. Fisher. I have news. Shannon grabbed Gabriel's hand, her grip crushing. Your son's brain activity has increased, Doctor. Lake continued. We're seeing positive signs. We're going to try reducing the sedation, see if they can breathe on their own. This is good news. Gabriel felt Shannon collapse against him, sobbing with relief. Over the next 12 hours, Matthew and Lucas slowly emerged from their comas. First, Matthew opened his eyes, confused and scared. Then Lucas, crying for his mother. They were alive. They were conscious. They would recover. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. There will be physical therapy, Doctor. Lake explained. Cognitive testing. A long recovery process. But they're young, resilient. They should be okay. Gabriel sat between his sons' beds, holding each of their hands. Matthew looked at him with eyes that seemed older somehow, more aware. Dad, Matthew whispered. What happened to the bad men? Gabriel met his son's gaze. They won't hurt anyone ever again. Matthew nodded slightly, understanding more than a 10-year-old should have to understand. Good. For 2 days, Gabriel allowed himself to believe it was over. His sons were recovering. The Norte Kings were eliminated. Justice's version of it had been served. Then his phone rang at 11:52 p.m. on the 6th night. Unknown number. Price. Mr. Gabriel Price. A voice he didn't recognize, older, rough, speaking with an accent that suggested years of smoking and violence. My name is Manuel Prince. I'm the regional boss for Los Hermanos. The Norte Kings worked for us, until you killed all of them. Gabriel's grip on the phone tightened. Los Hermanos, he knew the name. Major cartel operation, hundreds of members across 3 states, connections to Mexican cartels, ruthless efficiency. I'm listening, Gabriel said. You killed 30 of my soldiers. That's bad for business. Makes me look weak. So, now I have a problem, and you're going to help me solve it. How's that? You're going to die, Mr. Price. And your family is going to die. And everyone you know is going to die. That's the only way I restore respect. You understand? I understand that you didn't do your research. The Norte Kings attacked my sons by mistake. You want to escalate this, that's your choice. But understand something, Mr. Prince. I've eliminated worse threats than you in worse places than Portland. Come at me if you want. But you won't like how it ends. Manuel Prince laughed. Tough guy. I like that. Makes it more interesting. Here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow night, I'm sending 200 of my people to your house. Every soldier I have in the region. We're going to surround your home, and we're going to burn you alive inside it. Your ex-wife, your friends, anyone who tries to help you, they die too. This is your punishment for disrespecting Los Hermanos. 200 soldiers, huh? That's right. You're a tough guy. But you're not that tough. We'll see. Gabriel hung up, sat in the darkness of his living room, processing the information. 200 gang members descending on his house. An overwhelming force, designed to make a statement. Most people would run. Go to the police. Hide. Gabriel started making phone calls. The next evening, at 7 p.m., Gabriel stood on the roof of his house. He'd spent the day preparing, calling in favors, repositioning assets, turning his home into something it had never been before. Brett climbed up through the access hatch. They're mobilizing. I've got eyes on 6 different locations. They're loading vehicles, arming up. This is real. I know. Brother, we should evacuate. This is suicide. No. This is the final lesson. What lesson? That you don't threaten my family and walk away. Down below, in the street, the first vehicles arrived. SUVs, sedans, pickup trucks, all filled with Los Hermanos gang members. They parked in a perimeter around Gabriel's house, blocking every exit. Men emerged carrying weapons, handguns, shotguns, assault rifles. Gabriel counted. 50, 75, 100, 150. Brett whistled. Jesus. Prince wasn't exaggerating. That's an army. Gabriel pulled out his phone, pressed a button. Now. From 6 different positions around the neighborhood, headlights switched on. Vehicles moved into position. Men emerged wearing tactical gear, not gang members, but but former military. Delta Force, Rangers, SEALs, Marine Recon. 35 of Gabriel's former comrades, men he'd served with, men who'd heard about what happened to his sons and had offered their assistance. "No one threatens my brother's family," Brett said, raising his rifle. "That's what I told the guys when I put the call out." Every single one of them came. The Los Hermanos gang members realized suddenly that they were the ones who were surrounded. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Some reached for their weapons. Gabriel stepped to the edge of the roof, visible in the streetlights, and his voice carried across the night, the command voice from 1,000 combat operations. "Manuel Prince, I know you're watching. This is what happens when you underestimate a Delta Force operator. You wanted war? This is war." What happened next lasted 17 minutes. Gabriel's team had positioned themselves with precision, overlapping fields of fire, multiple fallback positions, communications coordinated. When the shooting started, it was surgical. The gang members, used to intimidation and untrained violence, found themselves facing professional soldiers who'd fought in the worst combat zones on Earth. Some Los Hermanos members tried to fight. Most tried to run. A few tried to surrender. Gabriel's team treated this like any other mission. Neutralize the threat, minimize collateral damage, complete the objective. Police sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Gabriel had timed this perfectly. He called Detective Sears 90 seconds before the shooting started, gave him the address, told him to bring SWAT. By the time police arrived, the battlefield had fallen silent. Bodies in the street, wounded gang members being treated by Gabriel's medics, weapons scattered everywhere, and standing on the roof, Gabriel Price with his hands raised, surrendering peacefully. Detective Sears emerged from his vehicle, looked at the carnage, then up at Gabriel. "You planned this. You baited them. They threatened my family, Detective. I defended my home. Castle Doctrine. Oregon law clearly states that a property owner has no duty to retreat when faced with home invasion. This isn't home invasion. This is a war zone. 200 gang members surrounded my house with intent to kill me and burn down my home. I called you before any shots were fired. I have 35 witnesses, all former military, all with impeccable records who will testify that Los Hermanos initiated hostilities. This is textbook self-defense." Gabriel climbed down from the roof, Brett beside him. Police surrounded them, but Gabriel remained calm, hands visible, non-threatening. "Where's Manuel Prince?" Sears demanded. "I have information about his location. I'll provide it in exchange for immunity for myself and everyone who helped defend my home tonight. You're not in a position to negotiate." "Actually, Detective, I'm in the perfect position. You've got 200 gang members, most of them wounded, all of them facing multiple felonies. You've got evidence of a coordinated attack on a civilian home. And you've got me, offering to hand you the boss of the entire Los Hermanos operation in Oregon. I'd say I'm holding all the cards." Sears looked at his captain, who'd arrived with backup units. They huddled, discussed, argued. Finally, the captain approached Gabriel. "Give us Prince's location. If your information is good, we'll consider reducing charges." Gabriel smiled. "Manuel Prince is at the Safe Harbor Hotel, room 347. He's watching surveillance feeds from tonight's operation. He has 4 bodyguards. He's planning to leave for Mexico within the hour." Police rushed to the hotel. They found Manuel Prince exactly where Gabriel said he'd be, surrounded by enough weapons and drugs to put him away for life. The video feeds on his laptop showed he'd been orchestrating the entire attack on Gabriel's house. When arrests were finalized, the district attorney's office made a deal. Gabriel and his team would face no charges related to the shootout, provided they testified against Los Hermanos leadership. The DA called it one of the biggest gang busts in Portland history, over 200 members arrested, the entire Oregon operation dismantled. Gabriel Price became a folk hero and a cautionary tale simultaneously. The media ran stories about the Delta Force veteran who'd single-handedly destroyed a gang that had terrorized Portland for years. Civil rights groups argued about vigilante justice. Legal scholars debated Castle Doctrine applications. Gabriel didn't care about any of it. 3 weeks after the final confrontation, Matthew and Lucas were released from the hospital. They recovered remarkably well, some lingering headaches, some physical therapy still needed, but alive and whole and home. Gabriel converted the hidden basement into a normal basement, donated most of his weapons to a military museum, and focused on being a father. Price Customs continued operating, though Gabriel hired additional staff to handle the workload while he spent more time with his sons. Shannon didn't move back in, but they maintained a relationship built on co-parenting and mutual respect. Their sons needed stability, normalcy, a chance to recover from trauma. One evening, 6 months after everything had ended, Gabriel was working late in his shop when Detective Sears appeared. "Mr. Price, mind if we talk?" Gabriel set down his tools. "What can I do for you, Detective?" "I wanted to update you. Manuel Prince was convicted on 47 counts. Conspiracy, drug trafficking, attempted murder, organized crime. He got life without parole. The Los Hermanos organization in Oregon is completely dismantled. We've made over 300 arrests in the follow-up investigations. That's good news." "It is." Sears paused. "I also wanted to say, what you did was wrong. Illegal, dangerous. You could have gotten innocent people killed. But I didn't." "No, you didn't. And truth is, the streets are safer now. Those gangs terrorized this city for years. Now they're gone. So I wanted to thank you, unofficially, and tell you that if you ever pull anything like this again, I'll personally arrest you. Officially." Gabriel extended his hand. Sears shook it. After the detective left, Gabriel returned to his motorcycle, a custom build he was working on for a client. The repetitive motion of assembly was meditative, calming. He'd found peace in this work, in the precision and care required to build something beautiful and powerful. His phone buzzed. Text from Matthew. "Dad, can you pick us up from soccer? Mom got stuck in traffic." Gabriel smiled, wiped his hands, and grabbed his keys. As he drove toward the soccer field, the sun setting over Portland, Gabriel allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. His sons were safe. The threats were eliminated. Life had returned to something resembling normal. But in the back of his mind, he remained alert, aware, ready. Because Gabriel Price understood something most people never learned. The world was full of wolves who preyed on sheep. And sometimes, to protect the flock, you needed a sheepdog who knew how to fight like a wolf. He pulled into the soccer field parking lot. Matthew and Lucas ran toward the truck, dirty and laughing, arguing about who'd scored more goals. They climbed in, filling the cab with their energy and noise and life. "Love you, Dad," Lucas said, buckling his seatbelt. "Love you too, Dad," Matthew added. Gabriel looked at them in the rearview mirror, his sons, alive and healthy and whole. "Love you both," he said, and drove them home.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.